Good evening. My name is Kemley Whiteside. I am the author of Accepted, Secured, and Significant. This is my book. In case anyone has not purchased a copy of the book, keep in mind that we're doing a journey which is highlighting various sections of the book from the 14 chapters that I have. So it would allow us to be able to understand what we're actually discussing. Okay. So if I'm echoing, please let me know so I can turn it down. Perfect. So I want to make sure that our discussion is not just based on issues that are spiritual, but also issues that are in the natural. And the reason why we are doing the journey is to make sure that people are understanding that a lot of the things that they're dealing with or struggling with is not always about reading a scripture, praying, but simply because they need to know that there are issues that are transcending from generations to generations, and they have to tackle them. They have to really work on them, and they have to actually understand that what they're processing during a day-to-day basis is not always an attack of the enemy. We hear that often, but we're not understanding why we're dealing with some of the issues that we're dealing. So on page 16, we are going to be discussing about You're Secured. But our topic is actually safety. Make sure that you go to my website, KemleyWhiteside.com. You can purchase an ebook copy there, and you can also purchase a copy, hard copy, and it will be shipped to you. Hi, Tasha, and hi, June. It's really nice seeing you guys. So make sure you tell your followers that we're on the safety topic tonight. So one of the highlights of the topic for safety, it's really a topic that I had to have deliverance from in so many areas, because a lot of us are actually dealing with a lot of self-doubt and emotional situations. So we have, when you are free of the burdens of dark thoughts, abandonment, and persecution, you walk in safety. These incarcerating thoughts can also be identified as procrastination, isolation, self-destruction, and self-doubt. These can expose you and cause you insecurity and fear. That's on page 16 of my book, and you'll also be able to address it in down the line in other parts of the book as well. But this is actually today, we're going to be asking questions like, why do some of us live in persecution? The other question will be, why do we allow some of the incarcerating thoughts to keep us in bondage? And the other question is, discuss about self-destruction and self-doubt. Okay, the first question is, why do some of us live in persecution? First of all, we have to understand what the meaning of persecution is. It's not always someone putting you into jail and someone is persecuting you or doing all other things like that. Sometimes persecutions is just the hostility and the ill treatment, which is basically the definition of persecution. And what we do or allow certain things to persecute us is that we have people that are hostile, whether it's relationships, marriages, friendships, and then we have people that have an ill treatment towards you. And an ill treatment can easily be an issue of someone yelling at you, speaking to you in condescending ways, someone who just thinks that they're better than you. And then you're actually facing an issue now that you're self-destroying yourself, because those thoughts, which are incarcerating thoughts, are keeping you in a bondage stage because of things that have been said to you, things that people have addressed to you in a way or in a manner that has not been appropriate or even in a decent way. So when I came up with the question, I had to even understand it for myself, the hostility of people. I mean, believe it or not, you'll understand that there's certain people that even when you speak to them nicely and softly, the first thing they go is, what do you want? And that's the response they give you. It's like they're already giving you a negative, demeaning kind of way, even if you're not even saying anything wrong. But a lot of that comes or stems from some of the issues these people have been struggling with, or some of the things that they themselves are even not able to understand why. So a lot of it comes from past history, which most of us don't want to address. And in all reality, if you're a man or a woman who is dealing with these issues, whether someone is doing self-destruction to you verbally, you have to understand that that type of persecution can easily cause you to have self-doubt. And at the same token, you're facing a situation where you're constantly feeling like you're not getting anywhere. You feel like you're the worst thing that can happen in your life. Most of the time, I'm telling you, it's not you. Every time someone is constantly addressing ill treatment to you or hostility to you, it's not always because you caused them or did anything to them so that they could actually approach you in that type of way. Most of the time, it's something they are experiencing, dealing with, and struggling with. So you have to be very, very careful of not allowing what their issues are to transpire into your life or become so immune to you that then you start to feel like you're actually having this problem. And I'll tell you this because of my own experiences. Everything I've written in this book, it's an actual improvement book, but it's actually an application book. Things that I've experienced, that I've allowed other people to understand at this point in my life, that I'm totally delivered and no longer want to deal with that. So when you face these issues, don't always think that you're the problem. Just don't even make it the first option. Just try to analyze it first. Try to understand why. Try to figure out, okay, maybe I have to do a self-check, which in fact is good. But at the same token, you don't want to take it to the level where you're constantly feeling or thinking that you're the cause or you're the problem. So we need to understand persecution and why do people do it. It's not always that you've done something wrong to them or that you are mean to them, because they're actually doing things towards you because of things that has been done to them. So I want you to just take that in, digest it a little bit, and try to understand why we have these discussions every single Monday at 8 o'clock, because we want you to honestly get it. Not that you're just joining and then you go about your merry good way for the rest of the week, but it's allowing you to instill something positive. It's just like having different videos that come into your timelines or into your Instagrams and all these different things. And you basically know it's something you don't want to see because it's negative, but you automatically put into your thought that maybe you may want to try it. So that's exactly what happens with certain things that people have done towards us. We feel that just by the thought of looking at it or the thought of seeing it, it's like, okay, I guess I should. You don't even want to think if it's good or bad. You automatically gravitate to it. That's why there's so many people that gravitate to a lot of mean things, evil things, or people that just gravitate to negative things, because their mind has been programmed that if they see it, it's automatically an okay to even attempt to even see it. So you want to avoid that at all costs, because what you want to do is create a positive environment into your lifestyle, even if it means seeing a video, watching something, or even an entertainment process of TV shows and all that. There's certain things that gravitate into your spirit. So all of these things that gravitate into your spirits, you have to make it an option of whether you want to be bothered by it or not. So take in consideration, why do some of us live in persecution? Sometimes we have allowed it to come in. Sometimes we allow people to treat us the way they treat us. We have the option of saying, I don't want to actually be treated this way. Don't speak to me this way. And when you're serious about it and you tell them, there's got to be a timeline that you put on that individual and let them be aware that they are no longer able to actually treat you the way that you don't want to be treated. It's all up to you. It's all into your court. So if you don't say anything, the person won't know it. And it's a cycle that keeps repeatedly going on and on and on. So keep in mind that you don't want to cause that upon yourself. And you certainly don't want something to be a habit, because when you create habits, you start to see yourself in a position where you're actually just saying it's okay. And then you have children, you have another generation, and it continues to go on and on and on. So then the other question that we have, if you have any questions, feel free to type them. But also, if you want to join the seat, make sure that you join in so that we can have the discussions that you will like, anything that you would like to talk about, and certain things that you may need answers to. The other question is, why do we allow some of the incarcerating thoughts to keep us in bondage. Well, a lot of the incarcerating thoughts is because no one is telling us it's incarcerated. Nobody's telling us we're living in bondage. No one is telling us that it's actually something that we should improve. There's a question that says, how can we improve on those habits? That's a very good question. For me, I'm only going to speak for me because I can only relate to things that I have worked on so it could help me. Most of the things that I've worked on with bad habits is that once I'm being told about it, I make self notes. Sometimes some of my notes are in my phone. Sometimes I make little sticky notes and I keep them close to me to have a little reminder, or even if it's a chalkboard or something, just kind of repeatedly know that this is something you're not supposed to do or say in a certain time frame that you will like. A lot of times that helps because you're visually seeing it. A lot of times it also helps you to visually understand that something that you're turning to is actually helping you to not do it over and over again. So the other thing that we have to keep in mind is that people have to understand at some given point in their lives that there's some things that they continue to do because those habits continue to go on and on and on. Some of your bad habits can be fixed. They're not just habits that you just created overnight. So the same way you haven't created them overnight is the same way that you can actually get rid of them. And it's not going to be overnight, but you can work on them. So that's why we wanted you to try to at least put sticky notes, little reminders, or even notes on your phone. This is important because this way you're starting to remind yourself when you see it that you're no longer practicing that habit. So we have to stop allowing incarcerating thoughts into our minds and even into our speaking, into our everyday commute with people and conversations. Some things you can keep it to yourself. To be very honest with you, everything is not supposed to be voiced. And even if you feel it's supposed to be voiced, think about what response you want to receive, because at some point you may not want to hear that. So you have to be also prepared that if you're going to receive a response, is actually coming because it obviously was something that you was expecting to get, since you decided that you were going to go ahead and deal with the situation. So let us try to practice these habits as well. Whenever you're ready to say something or speak about something, you have to keep in mind how some of the things that you're speaking or saying are attracting certain people in certain conversations. And to my Periscope people that are joining in, feel free to send me hearts, have some questions, whatever you need. We're all here to pretty much assist you. And if you want to jump on a seat, feel free to open a seat. I can have you come in so you can ask questions to be a part of the chat that we have tonight. For those who are just joining in, we are speaking about safety tonight. And the first question that we were discussing, why do some of us live in persecution? And what persecution means, that it means hostility and it also means ill treatment. So some of the things that we want to make sure that we're discussing are things that are going to help you, and they're going to allow you to be in a better environment, in a better place in your life, in a day-to-day process. We cannot by any means allow ourselves to be in self-destruction or even dealing with things in our lives that will cause us to feel that it's okay to be this way. There are people who will make you feel this way, people who will automatically make you feel that you are honestly not good enough, or that you shouldn't be this or be that. You shouldn't allow even that conversation to be entertained at all. From the moment that conversation starts to kick in, and it's already started in a negative process, you have the right as an individual who is receiving it and the other end to stop it. And you can make whatever excuse is necessary, but you have the upper hand because you don't want to receive that. So that's basically what persecution means. It was a hostility, the ill treatments of what people do to us. And we allow it at some degree. But then if we have allowed it, help yourself to not allow it anymore, and simply put a timeline on people or on anything, or even the issue, the problem, the situation. It's so important that you become empowered enough and have more than power to say, I want to be able to stop being incarcerated, stop being in bondage, stop allowing people to talk to me any kind of way they want or say to me anything that they want. So we have another question that's coming in. What can some of those incarcerated thoughts be? What were some of your incarcerated thoughts? Well, that's good. I'm going to give you some of my examples. For example, I was suicidal plenty of times from an early age. And a lot of those thoughts were constantly coming in over and over and over again. So when you start thinking about suicide, or you start thinking about harming someone else or even harming yourself, that's an incarcerated thought. You are allowing that thought of not being good enough, or whatever the case might have costed, to actually creating you a certain amount of thought in your mind saying, this is who I am. So you have to you have to repeatedly say to yourself constantly that you don't have these issues, that you don't have these problems. And even with self-medications, sometimes the doctors are giving you prescriptions that are actually making things worse for some people. And because of the fact that they're not seeing additional help besides just getting the meds, they actually don't see that it's harming them. But at some point, someone outside of that should say to them, you know what, you are harming me. I am being harmed. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to take it anymore. So there's certain things that are incarcerating in our lives that will make us feel completely destroyed, our self-doubt, our self-destruction. That's why we were actually emphasizing the quote in my book on page 16, when you're free of the burdens of dark thoughts, abandonment, and persecution, you walk in safety. The hostility, the ill treatments, all of these things are things that are incarcerating into your mind. And also there are things that are keeping you in bondage, the dark thoughts. Even if it's in a relationship, sometimes you're in relationships where people are doing you so much wrong, but you still feel love towards them because you really care. But then you ask yourself, how can I be involved with someone that doesn't care for me, but I care for them? That's not an equal bond right there, period, because it's not equally bonded. So when you already see the signs of something not equally bonded, that should automatically tell you that that is not a good place to be. You're incarcerating thoughts, you're dealing with things, you're struggling with issues. So you want to start to believe that everything that you're dealing, everything that you're going through, everything that's going on in your life is not because someone else caused it. A lot of times you put yourself there and you don't know how to get out of it. So now those thoughts are constantly bugging you and it's constantly harassing you. So start putting into your system, into your mind, into your thoughts every single day that you don't have to allow certain things happening to you. We have done so many sessions so far, about 3 sessions. And in every session, we have to understand that every single session is important, that we actually either replay it or even join, because it's also going to help you. And it's also going to allow you to understand that some of the things that you have been dealing with are supposed to be helpful while you're in the session. So try your very best to understand that if you're in a relationship that's not reciprocal, a relationship that's defeating you constantly, and you constantly feel that this person says they love you, but they treat you a certain kind of way, that's an incarcerating issue. You're like in jail. Nowhere to go, nowhere to run. You shouldn't have to feel that way, and you shouldn't be in that predicament, because God, first of all, didn't create you to be in that kind of setting. He didn't even, you never heard in the word of God that none of this was happening, where Adam and Eve, for example, were in an incarcerated situation where each other were treating each other any kind of way, regardless of who was at fault. That's the key. Anything that people tell you, anyone that tells you constantly that it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, they're putting in your thoughts that same mindset. It's okay to feel like it's your fault. So now you're allowing that to make you feel, wow, I'm really this way. And a lot of times, like I said earlier, it's not even you. Most of the time it's the same person who's telling you this that's struggling with an issue, and they're taking it out on you, and you don't even know it because it's a past history or a generational situation. So then you end up paying the price for it. And it's really not fair for you. The other question we had, discuss about self-destruction and self-doubt. One of the things we face with is a lot of self-doubt. even if you're planning a business and trying to launch your territory with your business and so forth, most of the time you're facing issues because you feel like, maybe nobody is going to bite. Nobody is really going to believe in this dream that I have. Well, one of the things you have to understand is that there's a group of people called in this world the universe. We're all made out of God. So that means there's room for everyone to be somebody and be something. So even if you had a following of 15 people, keep in mind those are the 15 people that are following you that are receiving it. So it's not about the amount of people that you have following you so that you can feel that you're accomplishing something. It's the actual thought process of you going forward with it so that you can feel accomplished. The accomplishment is not what the people need to feel or see in you. The accomplishment has to be about what you need to do. And the moment you focus on that business plan, the moment you focus on doing these things, you will be surprised that you won't even think about the amount of people that will follow you. You're not even going to think about the amount of people that are constantly even saying that business is not going to work. At the end of the day, the business idea was not given to them. The business idea was given to you. However you choose to do it, whether it's with 5 people, whether it's 15 people, it's still your idea and it's still yours to fulfill. So it still does not matter if anyone else gives you an opinion about it. And that's why self-doubt comes in and a lot of self-destruction comes in, because you are allowing people, you're allowing statuses, you're allowing circumstances to kick in and try to tell you that it's okay for you to follow along whatever they say. So you have to be mindful that a lot of things that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis with anybody is whether you allow them to tell you about your plan being not a good plan, or whether you choose to still go on with it, because at least you'll have maybe 1 or 2 people that will believe it. And if those people are okay with it, then it shouldn't matter the amount of people that will say, well, I don't believe in this business idea. That's why God gives each one of us every single thing he gives us is directly to you. Whatever plan he gave me, he's giving it just for me, because he knows I can handle it. He knows that I can do something with that plan. The same plan he gave me may not work for you. And it's okay if it doesn't work for you, because he didn't give it to you. So you have to begin to see that when you have a plan for something, stick to it. Don't even think about having self-doubt that you can't do it. You can't make it. I won't be good enough for it. Start to see yourself progressing in it in a way that you won't have to even doubt if it's going to be fulfillment or if it's going to work. Because the moment it's been given to you, the idea, that means it's going to work, because you have to put work into it so it can work. The other question then, one person asked, what would your self-doubts be? Well, a lot of the self-doubt is, like I said, a procrastinating, doubting process of maybe a business idea. Sometimes even relationships, you have a lot of self-doubt if this person is for me or this person is not for me. A lot of it is because you have been told something. Someone came to your ear and decided to tell you something, and that something stuck in you, and that something remained there, and you weren't able to get rid of that something because you're constantly thinking about what that person told you. And a lot of times that's what starts creating in you a self-doubt, and it starts creating in you a lot of emotional things that you yourself are saying, well, why am I thinking this way when I really didn't feel like this? But because somebody put that little nugget in your ear. So you have to be careful when you allow certain things to come into your surface and into your mind, because it helps you to understand that whatever they thought doesn't have to affect you. It's okay that they say it, but it's not okay that you take it in and you actually accept it. One of the other questions that's coming in, sometimes the emotional hold, it's actually a statement. Sometimes the emotional hold that person has over you keeps you from following your destiny and creates self-doubt. That's a very, very good point. People will literally hold over your head so much stuff. It's unbelievable. But the fact is, they hold it over someone else's head except for their own. So when people do that, you already have to identify the habit. You have to identify the issue. You have to identify, why is this person holding stuff over my head, even for so long? And sometimes you can't understand it, but that means that individual is probably struggling with that area in their life. So they push it on you and they make you feel as though you're the one that's causing that problem or that issue. And then you begin to take it all in and you don't even know why. Those are the simple things that I have experienced and sometimes have caused me to really just go really like, wow, I can't believe this. One person, people, sometimes will cause you to feel like that out of the million people that you know. And most of the time is because that one person is either struggling with something, they either don't want to accept that it's something that they're dealing with, and they don't want to get help for it. So when you know you have done everything in your power to apologize, or even everything in your power to really say, you know what, let's sit down, let's talk about this and see where we go from here. As long as you have done your part, you need to let it go. And that's exactly what we were talking about last week with fear and loneliness. It's amazing how some of us walk in so much fear, mainly because of what someone else has done to us. And a lot of times it's not because we want to be in that state of mind, or something that somebody did to us will cause you to walk this way, feel this way, and it will create in you a certain fear of saying, well, I guess this is who I am, and I guess this is how I have to be. And in all reality, it's not even you. But always analyze yourself. And this is very important. Always check yourself. It's like having a checklist. Every single issue you know that you might have done or said, check it off from that conversation if the person has been offended. And then you go back and say, you know what, I've checked off everything, which means if I checked it all off, that means I'm okay in this point because I've already released that and I have already tackled it. And that's really important that you do that for yourself, because people will make you want to feel as if you're at fault or that you're the person that's dealing with the issue. So then the other thing that I got out of this is that I went to a scripture in Psalms 91, verse 2-4. And it says, "This I declare about the Lord. He alone is my refuge, my place of safety. He is my God, and I trust him. For he will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease. He will cover you with his feathers. He will shelter you with his wings. His faithful promises are your armor and protection." So then I went back and I said, well, this is a very powerful safety verse in the Bible. But what is the definition of disease? A lot of us think it's cancer because, of course, it's cancer is a disease. A lot of us think it's so many different things that have to do with the body. Well, this is what the Spirit of God downloaded with me. It's a disorder. This is actually the definition. It's a disorder of structure or function in a human, animal, or plant, especially one that produces specific signs or symptoms, or that affects a specifically location, or is not simply a direct result of physical injury. I had to stop for a minute after I read that. And I read this all the time. All these years we read scriptures, but we really don't take the time to really break them down sometimes. So when I started thinking about the definition of disease, the word of God says that he will protect you. He will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease. That's verse 3. So if he's rescuing you from every trap, that means the self-doubt, the ailment, the hostility, the ill treatments, all of these things are things God already promised he's rescuing you from, the traps, because they're all traps. However, there are diseases that are all in disorder. They're not structured to make you feel good. They're actually structured to destroy you. So they're structured to destroy you because that's what the enemy allows it and wants it to be. But as long as you understand that a disease that you may have, whether it's self-doubt, self-destruction, anxiety, all kinds of depressions, all of these things are traps. But God said in Psalms 91, verse 3, that he will rescue you from the trap. So now we know we have him as our rescuer, which means that we shouldn't even be in a trap. Because at the end of the day, he rescues you from that issue. He rescues you from all the different entrapments. So now you have the power within yourself to say, I no longer want to deal with this trap. He already promised he will rescue you. That's as plain English as I could possibly read it. For he will rescue you. So that means every single trap, every single issue, every single problem, every single situation that others have made you feel, or even you yourself have made yourself believe all these things about yourself. That means God is rescuing you from that. He's telling you, hey, I got your back. It's okay that you felt this way, but now open up your mind, open up your heart, and let me rescue you from these issues, because you don't have to live this way. You don't need to live this way. That is powerful. To me, it was powerful because I was trapped for so many years. I didn't even realize it. But because the mind, again, keeps you bondage, the thoughts kept you in bondage, you didn't see the rescue. You didn't see God coming at you saying, I have you, I'm here for you. So we have to understand that a disease is a disorder of structure or function. It could be animal, human, or anything. That means it's a disorder of structure. That means it is a structure that is going to continue in a cycle that will continue, something that will go on and on, generations after generations. And you don't have to fall in that trap. You don't need to, because you have God who already promised you that he was going to rescue you. So we have to also understand, when he says he will cover you with his feathers, he will shelter you with his wings. He's even giving you the place where you're going to be. He will cover you. So after he rescues you, it's like being in a jungle. You know you're out in a jungle, but you don't even know when the rain pours if you'll have a place where you can be sheltered. Well, God is doing the same thing. He's saying, I will rescue you, but I am still going to cover you and shelter you somewhere. I'm going to keep you. I'm going to watch over you. I'm going to make sure that you're okay. So he's not just saying, I'll rescue you, go about your business after that, do you, whatever. He's actually saying, I am still going to be there after I rescue you. That is the most beautiful thing to even experience, because not everybody, not a friend, not your mama, not your papa, not your sister or your brother is going to go through all that. I mean, really, some of them probably will, but not everybody will go all the way. Once they rescue you with AAA, something like that, they'll just say, look, I got you. I'm here. And then they leave you. AAA doesn't stay all that time and see if you really got off and went through your merry way. They just do their job and keep moving. That's exactly what God does, the opposite of it. He actually stays there. He's actually saying, I'm going to cover you and shelter you. So he's not just leaving you hanging. So that was one of the things that I got out of the scripture, because when I started thinking about all the self-doubts and the self-destructions that for years I was in bondage with, I began to understand at this point in my life that yes, it's necessary that you experience that. And it's okay to deal with that for a period of time only. But it's not okay that you live like this for the rest of your life, because that's not even God's plan. His word says he's going to rescue you. So that means you're covered. That means you're already in a sheltered place where you're safe. So that's what safety is all about. If you're in a marriage, in a relationship, or even with work, and you're in bondage, you know, people treating you some kind of way, and sometimes you feel offended. That's the honest truth, because we all been there, and you don't even know why you're feeling the way you do and why people are doing what they're doing to you. But God is still your rescuer, and he's still going to keep you safe from all those people that are even speaking negative about you or even looking at you funny. That's one thing people do. Even when people look at you funny, you know, some people get offended even by the looks. And they don't feel safe. They're walking like, okay, because people look at me funny, I'm going to walk faster. I'm going to be this way and that way. Keep in mind that all of that is traps. They're all traps. They're all traps trying to make you feel that something is wrong. Sometimes it's not even that deep. We create a lot of things that are not necessary, and we have to be very careful with that. There's another question that says, how did you keep your faith while being sick with cancer and Lyme disease? Well, that's really very deep and touchy, because I definitely never thought that I will be at the place where I am today. And yes, going through cancer, for all the cancer people that are survivors, and even the ones that are dealing with it now, and people that are experiencing diseases that are in the body, in the physical, keep in mind that a lot of it is emotional. I went through it because it was emotional. I was dealing with a lot of emotional pain, aggravation, and issues. So most of the time, sickness is not always because you have your physical body giving up on you. Most of the time, it's your emotional state of mind that gets you sick. Sometimes you don't even know or realize it, but it does happen. stress can be a tremendous impact into your sicknesses and all kinds of illnesses. So you have to be careful that when you are dealing with something like that, that your mind has, your heart has to be really clear. How I dealt with it, only God knew, because I really did not have like a bunch of topic conversations about it with various people and just decided I'm just going to tell the whole world that I was cancer, that I had cancer or Lyme disease. I had great support from family, which is also important, that you have a great support system. If you don't have a great support system, I have very close friends that were there with me and for me. But if you don't have that, it's easy for you to not feel safe. It's easy for you to feel like you're in bondage, that no one is there for you. It's easy for you to lose your faith. But you have to keep in mind that a lot of times, if you don't face it and actually explain what you're feeling with people, they will not know. It doesn't matter if you're the strongest person in the world and you feel like you have conquered the world because you're a strong woman or a strong man. There's certain times in your life that you have to let go of that strength at that moment and really get to the point where you can speak to someone, because none of us are there yet. Every single one of us are still facing issues where we're still working on ourselves every day. And you're not perfect, and neither am I. So when I see myself dealing with issues like this, where I feel sick for any kind of way at that particular time, I needed to basically leave my pride away and say, you know what, I need help and I need support. I can't do this by myself. And most of the time when you have it, you feel better because you release at least a portion of your life, thoughts and those self-doubts, and you allow someone else to help you with it to make you feel better. I want you to know one thing. There are so many things that we do that we don't realize that we do, but that's why we have people around us, so people can check us. It's really not up to us to check ourselves because we don't know how to, but it's okay that you have people to check you, to basically put you in check and tell you certain things that you need to know, because you will never know for yourself what is it that you're doing wrong, what is it that you're doing right. Both things go hand in hand. You want to know what you're doing right and you want to know what you're doing wrong. So always have an accountability partner who can actually tell you that. This is why we do the journeys, because the journeys are for you to assign yourself an accountable partner, someone that you can talk to, someone you can go to, someone that you can say, you know what, I need to vent, or I need to say this because it's bothering me, it's hurting me, it's affecting me. Either way, whether it's good, bad, and you don't want to hear it, ugly, whatever the case may be, you still need that in your life, because every single one of us need to have someone check us up and give us at least a little bit of their thoughts. One thing is, you don't have to agree, but at least you get a different perspective. And you also get a different side of it. And you don't have to walk around feeling like this is all that there is. So that's very important. That's why being safe is important. This topic of dark thoughts, abandonment, and persecution, they're deep stuff. We're walking like this. We're like walking time bombs in this world every single day. Because if anybody does any little thing, we're ready to explode. If someone speaks to us any kind of way, we're ready to explode. We're like walking time bombs, because no one is going directly to someone else and literally speaking and venting out and expressing what the issue is. We're just sugarcoating things around the surface just to say we don't want to offend that person. We don't want to hurt them. And at the end of the day, you're doing more harm than anything else. So there is another question. How can you distinguish a good friend from a bad friend? The evil can be often disguised. Have you ever experienced that type of friend? Wow, well, yeah, I think all of us have. Friendship is very funny. Even with friendship, you have to be safe and you have to know the difference between a good friend and a bad friend. Some friends come into our lives for a season, some are temporary, some are permanently, and that's fine. You don't have to stick around with someone for the rest of your life. Trust me, it's not healthy either. Sometimes you need to have different people coming into your life, because that way you'll have a balance in your life of different personalities and different people. And that's key to it, having a balance, having some kind of balance with your friends. If you have friendships that are bad or friends that are evil spirited, You can detect that from the spirits, because spirits attract spirits. So a lot of times, if you know that person at the moment, you may not even understand it, because not everybody's in the spiritual level to understand what spirits attract other spirits. But for God's sake, people, we do know what evil is. We do know what mean is. I mean, literally, everybody knows what something mean looks like and what something good looks like. So it's not rocket science. The bottom line is either you choose to be in that or you don't. And because you have made the decision to stick with someone who's not really as good, you can't really complain or make any kind of comments, because at the end of the day, you still know that the person is not good for you. And a lot of their behaviors will tell you that. There are certain people that will behave in a certain kind of way that is only around you. They'll just pretend. I've had that. People that pretend that they don't even know you. They don't even know who you are. And most of the time you say to yourself, well, maybe it's me. No, it's not always you. See, there are certain spirits that will attract only the ones that want to be around you. And why? Because you know that you have something going there. You know your spirit is so strong that it can automatically push away a lot of different people. And sometimes God does it for a reason, so that you can be safe, so that you cannot be in predicaments that will cause you more stress, more aggravation. So don't feel bad when people are being removed in your life. Don't feel bad when people are even in certain stages of their life that you're not in, because sometimes their stages is moving faster than yours, because they honestly may not be here longer than you. I don't know. I mean, that's just me saying. But in reality, I mean, I'm a cancer survivor. So maybe when I experienced my cancer at the moment that I did, God placed the people that he did at that moment to be with me for a reason. I was able to have children, which in fact, at first I wasn't able to have children when I was in my 20s. So of course, he allowed me to go through all of that and have kids at an earlier age instead of a later year in my life. Why? Because maybe he's saying, I'm just going to use you for a particular season in your life. So I need you to go through all of this now. And it's nothing wrong with that. So that's how I define friendship, whether it's good or bad. There's certain seasons that you're going to deal with and go through and experience, because you might be going to a whole different season in a whole different direction, and they may not even be here to experience it or see it. So all the time that you're fussing and going around thinking, oh, well, this person is unfriending me, or this person is not speaking to me, it's not even worth it. And I've had that happen. I mean, recently too. And I feel as though every time I see that happening, with people just decide to disappear out of your life, one of the issues with that is that if you're not mature enough to handle it, you won't be able to be set free. But you have to spiritually be grounded to understand why it's happening. It's never a bad thing when it happens. There's certain things that need to happen, because where you're going and what season you're in, that individual may not fit in. They may not take it or handle it well. So be very careful when you're dealing with people and the place that you're in, because you have to secure you. Everybody else that's coming along, they've got to secure themselves. You can't protect every single person that comes into your life from harm and danger. It's impossible. So you have to identify first, what are you going to be able to do and what you're not going to be able to do. And don't try to be Wonder Woman and Superman and see if you can rescue the whole entire generation of people just because you want to see them do good. It's impossible, people. You will exhaust yourself. I mean, I'm telling you, because when I see that, I counsel some people and I give them counsel. And I've given you counsel 3 times and you're still dealing with that same problem 50 times. Something is wrong. Either my counsel is not going too well, or you just choose to just be rebellious and say, I don't want to be bothered with changing. So then why would you waste my time when I can help someone else who honestly needs it? See, that's what I need to identify. I can't be mad at that person, but I have to identify if I am doing the right thing by allowing it to still happen, because I need to be safe as well. I need to stop feeling like this person is coming to me for the simple fact of just constantly using my time or constantly saying something over and over again and they're not making progress. We all have a right to be careful with our safety place. You need to have a place where you feel secure and safe, where someone coming into your life will either be for you or against you. They will either add to your life or not. They will either do great things or not do great things. And it's nothing wrong. I've never read in the Bible where people are not with other people and they actually feel like it's the bad thing to do. I mean, people moved on and did what they had to do as long as God assigned them to do it. But they were obedient to God more so than the people. So you have to start practicing these things, not allowing your mind to put you in an incarcerating state of place where you in a state of mind where you're in a place of just feeling like I'm responsible for someone else's incarcerating moment. Not fair to you. It's not fair to your family. It's not fair to your surrounding people that care about you, that want to be around you. It's not fair that you have to carry that burden. They need to carry their own. You need to carry your own. And if you're there, you're there. And if you're not available, you're not available. It's nothing wrong understanding that you have to secure yourself, secure your peace of mind. Be able to see that everything that you're doing is for a purpose. And it's not to harm anybody, but you have to understand if you're not safe, if you're constantly feeling your thoughts are all over the place, you will not be able to possibly be there for no one. Literally, it will drive you crazy. So try your very best from this session on to understand what we've discussed today. We did talk about persecution, means hostility and ill treatment. Too many people are very ill, not only mentally, but emotionally and spiritually. They have a lot of hurts. They have a lot of issues, and they really take it out on everybody they see. And it's not personal. Don't take it personal. Stop taking it personal. But you know how to remove yourself from that. And you also should know how to take it and how much you can take. There's a limit to all of this. Being safe, as God said it in his word, he will rescue you from the traps. It's plain and simple. That means he's going to do it. But you have to identify the trap. He's giving you some homework as well. You have to identify the trap. You have to make sure that you don't fall into it. But if you do fall into it and you do identify it, make sure that you don't allow yourself to be in that place for too long. And try your very best to get out of it and allow yourself to just improve as much as you can. But do not allow that trap to keep you bondage, because he did promise you that he will rescue you. Also said he will provide you covering and shelter. Nothing more, nothing less. You have it all in one package. So take advantage of it and make sure that you continue to allow God to show you the different strategies of life. Remember, we are here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've gotten some great feedback from various people that have played the replay. Some of them have emailed me with a lot of different issues they're dealing with. I want to say thank you to you. Because if it wasn't for me doing this and God allowed me to do this, I think that I wouldn't be able to know what you struggle with. So I really appreciate the fact that wherever you are, if you're tuning in tonight, you know who you are. Thank you for being able to open up what you said and what you did when you wrote your email and express the situation that you're dealing with, because we really I personally don't want to have you in a place where you're not safe or in bondage. I want you to make sure that you have consistent support, because you can make it and you will make it. These sessions are every night. Tell your friends, tell your families on Mondays. Tell people that need help or need some kind of assistance. Remember, we can open the seats at any given time with the sessions. If you want to call in, you're welcome to call in, and I will let you come into the seat so we can have these discussions face to face. And this way we can allow you to express whatever you need to express, whether it's questions, whether it's experiences that you've had. I will be having guests on the sessions in the future, because we want to have all different types of panels so that people that have experienced certain things can also help you. I just don't want to be the only one that's addressing issues and giving you some of these issues for you to have something to take with you. I want to also have other people that are very experienced as well, that you will learn something from them also. Remember to go to my website, get a copy of Accepted, Secure, Significant. One more time, it's KemleyWhiteside.com. Purchase a copy of your book. If you already have a book, purchase a copy for a friend or purchase a copy as a gift to a neighbor or somebody. Just be a gift to someone else because they need it. They need to understand that their life has hope and that someone is willing to give them the hope and that someone wants to give them hope. So be able to do whatever is necessary to tune in next week. We really want to hear from you. So if you need any assistance, email me at KemleyWhiteside@gmail.com or go to my website at KemleyWhiteside.com. Any questions, feel free to email them. Remember that the journey for session 4 was safety today. And remember that the journey is an accountability process that will partner with you to help you become successful and productive with your dreams. Until next time, may God keep you safe, and I will see you again next Monday. And if you have questions, once again, don't hesitate to reach out and tell somebody else to invite them next week at 8 p.m. Have a blessed evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in.